Hey everyone! Welcome to the HGA free webinar series. For this episode, we will be discussing pre-event communications and how to advertise the giving opportunities at your next event. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. Let's get right into it.
Thanks so much for coming. It's a proud moment for us because this is episode 86 of the HGA free webinar series. 86 of these, Jay. That's pretty amazing to think about it. I think we'll blink, it'll be 186, but at some point, because it's week in and week out. But we can't wait to share some thoughts that we have about how to, of course, encourage and how to prepare your donors to give. There's many different ways that we can go about doing this, and many different examples that we're going to share today. Before we get to that, my name is Trevor Nelson, my brother Jason Ledlow, and we're with HGA Fundraising. Thanks so much, everyone, once again for coming. We're going to ask that you stay till the end if you're here with us live, because we're going to draw a winner for an auction item that you can use at your next event. And of course, we've got Q&A function down below where you can drop questions. We want this to be a conversation just like every week, of course. And then we've got the chat feature on the side that everyone's already using. So any thoughts, ideas, questions, we'll probably have a few of those. I'm assuming I know I will as well. During the course of this webinar, please don't hesitate to ask or to offer. And we're here to have that conversation with everyone. So thanks so much. Thank you, Jay. And pretty cool topic. I was kind of teasing the idea that the topic with folks before we even got going. We just have this conversation a lot. We have the conversation a lot about how to prepare donors to give, how to get them in the right giving spirit. And it takes us to the very, very beginning, Jay, about what you and I were talking about. It's like, we need to look at, why are we even doing it? Why are we here? Why are we raising money? What's the, that's the point, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the way that we prepare donors, when we say, how do we prepare our donors to give? It's really interesting. A lot of time, you go to an event or you talk to somebody about an event and they'll say, hey, well, what's that event for? Or what do they do there? What's that about? And I used to have this saying. I would say there's three reasons that you do an event. It's to raise awareness, celebrate, and raise money. And I always said in that area, in that order, because obviously we need to raise money. That's why everybody started doing these. And if you go back 30 years ago, a lot of times there were events happening, but nobody really raised money at them. It was just a celebration. We would have awards and a banquet, and it was kind of to raise awareness of our organization, recognition, things like that. There would be underwriting and sponsorship. And then one day somebody said, hey, let's have an auction, and boom, it just kind of has taken off from there. And I say 30, 40 years ago, whatever. Yeah. No, you're not
right.
But it wasn't very common even 30 years ago, but now, it happens a lot. And when I say an auction, where we really brought fundraising around, and now we see organizations that, their event is 10, 20, 30, 50%, maybe even more of contributes to their operating budget. So it's really important. But I also think that going back to why we do this, why are we having this, and making sure that we have that, is to really let people know what we do. And, and if I throw a name of somebody, this is just a random thing. I'm not really putting situations together. It's all, I try to just kind of blend things together, so I'm not picking on anybody. But, Trevor, when we start thinking about that, what is the message? How are we doing this? How are we doing it? So let me give you a couple of examples. So let's say that you invite me and Teresa, you and Shelby, or there's an organization you've been a part of for several years. You're there. You're you're in the fold, so to speak, as a donor, and you invite us to come. Well, one of the first things that we need to do is you need to be able to communicate to me why you're coming, and you're going to probably be able to do that message. What I found over the years is a lot of times even the organization itself couldn't do the elevator pitch. And if you guys have heard me been on here before, you've all heard me talk about, the elevator pitch, the 30-second, what do you do?
What do you do?
What we tell people is, we help nonprofits raise money. What do you do? Okay. You send kids to camp. You plant trees in the forest, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever your wonderful cause is, there's a purpose and a reason. And it's really important for not only you to be able to communicate that, but your donors. That's why
Yep.
I like to start off to say this, we're going to raise awareness. You want to put all your communication out there, prepare them what they're raising money for. Why are
Yep.
you gathering? Why not just, we have this wonderful honoree. We're going to do this. We're going to have this. We're going to do this and that. And it's going to be this cool, it's denim and diamonds this year and whatever the theme is.
Yep.
It's really important. And I think it gets lost in the mix sometimes of why we're raising money. Are we raising money for something specific? Is it a specific thing? Is it, that we're doing scholarships? Is it general funds to fund our mission? And so my first thing that, to say is that's something that needs to be communicated. If you want to prepare your donors to give, you need to prepare them emotionally for what they're going to get into. Why are we here? Why are we coming in the first place? And
I love that.
So, and anytime you guys have a question or a comment, something that you've done, something that you said, well, we tried this and it sucked, it worked great.
Sure.
Please share that, because we want this to be a conversation, not just us sitting here talking. But like Trevor, you guys went to an event here just a while back. How did that, whenever Matt called you, how did that communication happen?
Yeah, I think that, obviously our friend Matt, bought a table. We really enjoy, hanging out with he and his wife. So it always really, really helps. No offense to Matt. I don't know if he could even really articulate what the evening was going to be about. And that's not his fault, and it's not the organization's fault. I just view that as a problem. I think that's
I think it is the organization's fault. I think it is.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not trying to point. I mean,
I know.
Yeah, you get my point. Yeah. Just being diplomatic.
Yeah. You would never. I know, Trevor. You would never say something that would hurt anybody's feelings anyway, and that's what makes you you, and why everybody loves you.
But it was a problem. It was a problem because we even left scratching our heads, going, "Are they here to raise money?"
Yeah.
And of course they don't know that we're in the business and this is what we do, and we're enthusiasts about it. But
I'm going to give you a flip side example. So I know a couple. They had a table. They were actually on the committee, so they really knew. They brought another couple in. The organization reached out to not only, it was not only communicating to the people that bought the table, but also to everyone. Once they received that information, they received that donor information, thank you so much. So excited for you, for this. Thank you for being a part of this. We're going to be able to help fund our, it was a Ronald McDonald House. I'm just going to tell you, we're going to be able to do this. And so it was for Sharon and I, and it prepared them to know what they were doing, because I can tell you, I specifically talked to this gentleman I'm talking about. He wound up at the live auction giving $10,000. Him and his wife bought a $10,000 trip, got so involved, they wound up being on the committee the next year.
Yeah, that's how.
What he said was, we didn't know whenever, our friends invited us, really what it was about. But as the event got clearer and got closer and got, more, the communication, we really started to go, yeah, we want to be a part of this. Before they ever showed up, they knew that this was something that they wanted to support. And so then the event was the icing on the cake. So I guess where I'm coming with is, you keep that mission in front of your donors, in front of your guests at all times.
Yep. Now,
I'm going to ask a question, because I want to do this. So how do you all, everybody that's here live, how do you, and if you just want to put it on the chat, that's great. If you want to put it in the question, that's great too. I'd love to hear how you guys are communicating to your donors. How do you let them know what you're doing? Why are you raising?
And when you say that, Jay, are you saying about what they say about their mission, or
for pre-event? I'm talking about
email.
You've got an event,
invitations.
What are you? How are you doing that? Is there something
and
specific?
Also, what's the most effective? What has been a crash and burn? Things like that. I want to bring up something, Jay, that was top of mind. We just had this conversation, another conversation along the same lines yesterday, and I thought this was really, really important. A friend of ours said this, and it's very, very difficult for some people probably to grasp this in the moment, and I don't mean mentally, but in the moment, it's very difficult to grasp this because you're so caught up and so myopically focused on what you're doing for this particular event and how much and your heart and your soul you're putting it in how much of that you're putting into it being a success. What you're doing though, and the example that Jason just gave about the folks that they had never supported the organization, they bought a $10,000 item, they were on the committee next year. We've had people tell us this is how these things work and how you can identify future committee members and future supporters and donors. But what you're doing by nailing it now is you're playing the long game, so to speak. You are preparing supporters and donors for the next event, for next year, the following year. You're truly playing the long game. I know that's a buzz term that gets thrown out there a lot, but you really need to maintain focus on that as well.
Here's a great example I just gave. This guy, they didn't know that. The next year they bought a $10,000 table. They bought another $10,000 trip, and I think they gave $10,000 in the live. So it was a $30,000. That investment made a return of $30,000 the following year.
It's so important, and who knows how many people they know? Yeah, who knows how many people they know?
Because they brought a whole. It's like the segment broke, and then all of a sudden it went from being just one table into two tables. And so it came up. I want to read
some of the examples.
I mean, everybody's seen them.
Facebook once a day, perfect. I think having a Facebook page, if no one's doing that currently, dedicated to the event itself.
I want to stop on just social media for just a second. Here's one thing I want to just mention about this, because everybody breaks it. Whenever we say whenever I use the term social media, I mean everything.
Yeah, all platforms.
I recommend, because I've gone through, where I was on Facebook and LinkedIn. But you got to understand, everybody's a little bit different. And I was the communication chair for an organization at one time. And we would go and we would have this national meeting with all the communication chairs across the country. And it always came back about the best way to communicate. And and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this just because it was a thing. I got, 10 out of 10 on all the ratings for communication every year. And they said, how do you do this? Because I did this like 3 years. They said, how do you keep doing this? And I said, because all the above. What do you mean? I said, well, the members, some of them like email, some of them like a text, some of them like to have mail, snail mail, something come in there. I said, we also send it to the spouse of the member, because that's a lot of times the social director, if, it could be either one, husband or wife, whatever, the social director of the household. And I said, we want to do that. And then picking up the phone and calling them, because I heard, face-to-face phone calls, all the above. It takes, communication is such a strange thing. And if you put a post up on Facebook every day, and because I heard somebody say we do a Facebook post every day for the event, I think that's fantastic. Don't stop. But just understand, not everybody's on Facebook. And just because you put it on there, if I don't happen to follow that, or I'm not friending that and I'm not seeing that. So one of the things you might want to do in this is in the comments is go tag and start sharing people with everybody that you know, and start tagging the tags. So that's another story. But the email. Well, sometimes people don't look at their email for days and weeks.
Or it goes to spam or what.
It goes to spam. Text messages. If you don't have if you don't have their number, you can't text them. So I just suggest all the above.
I like the Anna brought up a really cool point. Anna, thanks for sharing. There were so many good points. We're going to get to all of them. There's some questions and some examples. A video thank you. Yeah, okay, pardon me. Anna, thank you for sharing that video. Thank yous. That's a great one as well. Sharing the impact. Perfect. So it's in the same line. I got Anna and Allie mixed up. Pardon me. Same vein, though, of course. We send a pre-event welcome video via email from our CEO or a patient. So someone that the mission has impacted. I think that's really awesome. I think video is probably going to be up here on those platforms as far as just response and attention. It's just been dictated that way with all these algorithms on the social platforms. But that being said, I think, sharing that and what that's doing is kind of part of that elevator pitch that we were talking about. That this is what we're doing. Here's a video to prove it. I think that's really, really smart. Becky had a question for us, Jay. Would you recommend sending segmented emails to folks who are new attendees?
Absolutely.
I really like that, Becky.
Absolutely. I think if you have the ability to segment that out, then I think it's a great thing to do. But here's something I want to mention about when you start sending out content and everything. This is an opinion based on
Mm-hmm.
some experience share and also observation and reading of just other information that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Brief is best.
Yeah, less is
Brief,
always more. Yeah.
brief is best. Less is more.
Yeah.
If you send a 4-minute video, it will not get watched by
Yeah.
98% of the people that see it.
Same thing
But
with the long passage or
yeah.
dissertation in an email. It's the same, you know? Yeah. People respond well
Um,
to a brief
okay,
video. I love
Beverly
that.
brought
Yeah.
something up that we did on their committee, and I said, everybody get your phone out. I said,
Mm-hmm.
go over out and separate. I said, do a recording. Hey, on your phone, just do a little video. And I said,
love it.
I know this is uncomfortable for a lot of people, but just try it.
Yep.
Hey, this
Yep.
is Jason. I'm calling in behalf of our charity. We've got our event coming up. Want to make sure that you guys are coming. Look to see you there. We're going to raise a whole lot of money for ABCD. Done. And then just find everybody and start texting it out to people.
Love it. It's awesome.
Good.
People
It's
responded
so
well. I'm glad to hear that,
simple
Bev.
because it's something unusual that they're going to get.
Yep.
We don't send videos to each other all the time, except in like Instagram, maybe. And if you do, that's
it's
fantastic.
going to interrupt the loop a little bit if it comes via text message. I think it's cool. You're going to catch people's attention. I call
you
it
don't
interrupting
have to
the loop.
have technology to text people.
Yeah.
Here's a great idea. Send a video that get, and it doesn't have to be one big video and all the stuff and everything. Well, we got the CEO, we've got this person. I think that's great.
Yes.
But people like to get things from people they know. So if you have all your table captains, or I'm saying table captain, the hosts, send a video to them and say, hey, this is Jason. I wanted to make sure, just have you do a little video, just like I'm doing right here, to send out to everybody. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And we're going to have a prize with it. Everybody that submits a video, we're going to draw one out and play one. I don't know. There's just all kinds of creative ways to do it. But
I love it.
One thing that I do want to make sure and mention, I'm sorry, I just didn't cut you off, brother. I just want to do one more thing. Somebody mentioned phone calls. I think one of the most underutilized ways to communicate with people, and I'm talking about people that this is not just a random deal where you've got one person. Hi, this is Jason with ABC Charity. We've got a gala coming up on the 28th of the month. I hope you'll be able to attend. I'm talking about where it's, hey, Trevor. Hey, it's Jason. Hey, man, I want to just let you know we've got our event coming up on the 28th. Can't wait to see you and Shelby there.
Yep, exactly.
That's it.
Love it. Yep.
I mean, something super simple and short. And that's why I go back to the text messaging. And if you do the little video like that, you kind of did it without having to sit there and just text and everything.
Yeah. Jay, I wanted to get your feedback and anyone else's feedback on this if you tried it. We're imploring people to do this. We had a Chamber of Commerce, so they're working with local business owners and what have you. Bless you. They're working with local business owners. They actually had a social media expert, not an influencer, but you get my point, like a marketing firm that specializes in these things, volunteer their services to advertise for their event. I, just want to encourage folks to have that conversation with someone in their community that might be, having an outstanding prowess in that field. I mean, like we've got our media team that's amazing, and they do things I can't even comprehend sometimes, right? So Courtney and Morgan, you know who you are, but it's just, but we wouldn't be able to do what we do without that. And I just think that more events could have people like that. More organizations could have people like that on their committees and volunteering to help spread the word. And we're getting into these details. You were talking about, when these events first started happening the way that they're happening now, that was, a couple decades ago. There's so many moving pieces now, and we're vying for people's attention in such an extraordinary way that we obviously have to keep pushing the envelope, so to speak, on creativity and what works, and being students. We call it enthusiasts, right? Being students of what maybe other organizations are doing. We just had this conversation last week about, like, hey, you went to an event, the organization knocked it out of the park, they had a great auctioneer. Go ask them about that auctioneer. Same thing with how to advertise properly. If you see something that's working, you're not copying. It's just working, and it's working and getting people's attention. If it gets your attention, I'm a real tough one to crack as far as attention. Jason and I both are like, I don't even know if I'd even read that sometimes. We look at certain things, not from organizations, but just in a general everyday sense. We're really, donors are consumers. an informed consumer, an informed donor is going to be an active donor. That's how we feel, right? So leave no stone unturned when it comes to this and how you utilize the tools around you, and be creative with the people that you ask. If you have an expert that knows how to do this, this, and this, and this on all major platforms, and you can handle the phone calls, then fantastic. I don't think that's beyond folks to do that more readily these days. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think you can't understate that part of it. You know, a lot of times, and here's something too. A lot of times I've seen some incredibly creative, really fun things done at events that if they would have just, technology's so easy now, you can, you know, everybody's most powerful fundraising tool in the world. It's also the most powerful communication tool. Take a quick video of something and send it out. And so here I'm going to give you an example real quick. So this was before social media. This was before all this. There was just email. There's a couple in my community, husband, wife. They would do these really fun things for this fundraiser for a local high school. Every time they did it for like 3 years. One year they came out as the cheerleaders, which was Cherry O'Terry, and it was off Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, you know, they would do this. And they did a skit. The Spartan, they were the Spartan cheerleaders, and they did this skit based on this. Well, they videoed this, and again, this is you know, back a few years ago. Like I said, there was just email, and they got a video, and were able to get a video, get a clip down, and sent that out via email.
Yep.
And it was a big deal because you didn't hardly get video. I mean, it was hard. It was, you know, it took a lot to do it. There was a lot of money invested in that little video, but the response was so good because it was really cool, because they were two people that everybody knew and loved and, you know, and did. And I've seen these same kind of things happen at the event. I'm like, oh my God, why didn't you do that before and get everybody to come to get their attention? Because we all have, you know, people have attention span less than a guppy. I mean, it's pretty bad. Yeah. And if you look at social media, it's faster and faster. You know, we went from having posts on social media to now there's stories, and it's just sit there and you just clip, slapping through there. And that's what you've got, about, you know, less than 3 seconds to get somebody's attention.
Yeah. It makes a ton of sense.
Keep those things in mind, you know, keep those things in mind. That's why just some of that direct contact. So
that example,
but whatever you got to do, keep what you're raising. And, you know, and if you're, if it's ABC Charity and your goal is to plant baby trees in the Sahara Desert, okay, then that's what you got to do. Say, we're going to we're repopulating, you know, the Sahara Desert with baby trees, and this is what we're doing. Okay, whatever that is, tell people what you're doing with the money. That's what we're doing, who we're helping, how we're doing it. Okay,
be detailed.
Be detailed on that as much as you can. Brief.
When we're talking about the difference between like a mission statement and an elevator pitch.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're talking about the big, right? And the elevator pitch, for lack of a better moniker, but that's what we use, which I'm fine with. Brief, succinct, to the point about what we're doing right now, how we're making an impact right now.
Yeah.
That's what people are going to respond to. And being very intentional about it and very deliberate, and don't leave any, you know, just hit the metrics, whatever, you know, we're going to plant 1,000 trees. Tell them that. Don't just tell them we're going to plant trees. You know, and this also brings up something fun. We really enjoy this. We've gone over elevator pitches and different things like that with a lot of organizations. You know, this isn't an agenda, there's zero pressure to do it, but if you want to bounce one off of us, you certainly can, and send us an email or something like that. And Jason, I love looking at those kinds of things and helping out. And it's cool to get another set of eyes on what you're doing as well. So
I'm gonna before we move on, I want to do one more example. So here's an example. Let's just say that, you know, it's ABC Charity. You've got your gala coming up on whatever day it is, and you help kids that are transitioning. They've just been plucked out of their home. Okay. They're in transitory care, and literally when they come get them, they take nothing. And so we're going to do this. And, you know, we're buying backpacks for kids. Show up at our event. We're raising money because we're going to make sure that every kid that goes into foster care has a backpack, clothes of their own, or whatever. That's what you want to tie into get it narrowed down as much as you can. Because I know a lot of your organizations do a lot. And it's not to
That's
make a restricted gift, but make sure that you kind of give it some idea, so they kind of get an idea of what they're going to do, and that brings that emotional, not just the excitement of the event, but the emotional. Okay. So we've talked about how you're going to continue to communicate why you're raising money. Now let's talk about communicating the event. Again, if you've got a band, if you've got an honoree, I know, because a lot of organizations are built around the honoree, and that's how you raise a lot of money, because everybody that, a
lot of events are like that.
That's a great deal there. So getting that information out, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. It's all, you can still say, hey, this today on Monday, we sent out a deal about, that, hey, we're buying backpacks for kids. On Tuesday, we talked about our honoree that we're honoring this week. On Wednesday, we're talking about, and this is back to the post. I think it was Cheryl mentioned that, doing these daily posts. Here's some things, that we're going to have. Banana Seat's going to be playing for us. It's a local band here, but cool. Everybody loves to hear them. It's like a 12-piece brass band kind of thing, and they just play all this great music. So
we're going to have one of those speed artists or what have you, or
we've got this,
a magician,
on those things. And also how they're going to give, preparing them for what's coming up. One of the things that I remember years ago, people would say, hey, we're going to have a mystery gift. What do you think about that, Jason?
We don't like that.
It's a mystery.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
That's a big question mark to me.
Yeah, we had a mystery auction item. I don't know. Yeah. It's a mystery what it's going to do, because nobody knows what it is.
What if
so we got to get them emotionally prepared to do it.
Yep.
So and that's where start talking about this. We saw a client, and I wanted to share it, but I couldn't get it to format right coming out of Facebook. But this was something somebody posted, one of our clients. And they had three ladies, three of the people that are the CEO of the organization, the committee chair, and I don't know one of the other. I think she was just a major sponsor. And they were all getting together, and they were sitting there talking about the night for their organization, and they were talking about they were saying, "You guys, it's going to be so much fun. We're raising money to do this. It's going to be our such and such gala. Ways that you can do that. How can you raise money? You can do this." And they're just having a conversation, and it was fun because they're talking to the camera. We're going to have a silent auction. We're going to have a live auction. We're even having a vacation station. And what is the vacation station? There's a trip there from Tuscany, a trip for this and trip for that. They're one of our clients, some of our trips, but really my point is, they're telling that's what's going to happen. We're having raffles and drawings, and we're going to have this and that, and it's going to be so much cool. There's going to be so many cool things to do. Whatever it is, don't just, because some people say, "Oh, we're having Casino Royale, we're having a casino night," and there'll be fun play and do it. Be specific. Tell people what they're going to do. Hey, you're going to be able to gamble, have fun, play money. It's all for fun, but we're going to raise some real money for whatever our deal is. I mean, I'm kind of riffing on that, but
a really cool example that we've heard recently, and we're getting a lot of really cool feedback about the advertising. We're in, we deal a lot of, with a lot of items, obviously trips and experiences, but it doesn't have to be ours. We get a lot of feedback back about ours. However, we had a client tell us, hey, we advertise the destination. I'll use like Lisbon, Portugal as an example. I've never been to Lisbon, Portugal. I really want to go there. Lisbon, Portugal is a long way away. And this happened to be a trip for 4. And I already know who I want to travel with and things of that nature. Of course, I'm taking my wife and all that. Probably not a decision that I'm making the night of. You know what I mean? That's a lofty decision. There's a lot of steps between getting me from Northern California to Lisbon, Portugal with my wife and my 2 friends that I want to travel with, and Jason and his wife. And so my point being is, if I knew a little bit more about what was going to be there, so we're telling folks, be detailed about what's going to be at the event. It could be donated. Fantastic. Let folks know where that's going to be, so it's not a mystery when they show up. They're preparing. I'm not going to say preparing to spend, but the wheels are turning. They're packing their bags, so to speak. They're getting over the hump of saying yes to those certain destinations, those certain items, silent auction, live auction, whatever it may be. if they show up the night of, most people aren't just going to, knee jerk, I'm going to Lisbon. Some people will. I'm not going to argue that. Some people will. More people are going to respond if they're prepared. And people, people like that preparedness side of things, especially with these items. We could say the same thing if your organization is doing a fund a need for the first time. Advertise that. It's the same thing that Jason was talking about with the video with these 3 gals that we saw. They're telling folks and preparing them, there's going to be a mission drive. It's going to be at this time. You got to be, that kind of thing. So I think it's, to utmost importance that we advertise these things.
Well,
utmost
I'm
importance.
going to give you I'm going to give you 2 practical reasons, and then, one real practical.
Okay.
Trevor, you're talking about, you just said, well, yeah, we're thinking about going to Lisbon. Hey, look, this still, I just got an email, or I just got a text that, hey, there's a Lisbon trip in that event we're going to next week.
That happens all the time.
Well, here's what I tell you what happens. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody come to me after an event and say, man, I wish I'd known that was going to be here. We just booked something last week.
Yep.
To the same basic trip. It happens all the time. And so I want you to, be thoughtful about that. If you've got some really cool experience, to let people start knowing, because the second part of this
Don't hide it.
I want, you want them to start psychologically planting that seed and start thinking about visualizing going on that trip, being there, traveling, start thinking about owning it, because once they do, they're going to be more ready to raise their hand. And I'm not just talking about live auction. I'm talking about if you're doing something like a golden ticket raffle, about how many tickets they're going to buy.
Totally.
The fund a need. We're trying to send 100 kids to camp, and it costs $1,000 a kid. We need to raise $100,000, and they start thinking, how many kids are we going to send to camp?
Love that.
All those things start coming into play, and you want to just make sure that you're talking about those things. They're the mystery. If you leave things a mystery, it's a mystery what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm going to make a blanket statement. It's like, talk these things up. Talk them
has
up.
Anybody done anything like this that you do? Or are you doing that now? Are you playing any videos upcoming with stuff like this, or sending things out, little teasers?
Or anyone that's staunch
about what's
is there anyone
out?
staunchly opposed to teasing their live auction items, for instance? I'd like to hear that and the reason why and stuff like that. Not because there's a right or wrong answer.
I'm going to give you an example. This was something that was done. There was a group. It was to a special vineyard. I think it was to Opus. In California, Opus One. They got a guy to give a jet. He donated a jet, and they put all this stuff out there. Well, here's what wound up happening. It wound up selling for $60,000. All the proceeds went right to the nonprofit. Well, the guy that owned the jet wound up being one of them, but 3 other people got with him, because it was a trip for 8, wound up getting with him and said, hey man, let's just all pool our deal together. Let's buy this. You're going to take your jet anyway, so you go with us. And they do. And that's what happened. And it wound up bringing, maybe it was more than that, but it wound up bringing at least 60 grand that I remember. But it happened beforehand, because people were thinking about, they were seeing it was going to be in that, started making arrangements, started making phone calls, and got their little consortium together and wound up buying it.
Yeah, we're not saying that people won't make decisions like that, but at the same time, we just think it's just a no-brainer to do that. But once again, no right or wrong answer, of course. We're not discouraging anyone if they're opposed to it.
Well, but, Becky, your point about reaching out to
past live auction winners,
and asking about what they want, what they've got coming up.
Yeah,
absolutely. When you're trying to figure out what you're going to have, but once you've got it in there, well, then you want to call them back and saying, hey, John. Yep. You said you wanted to go to, wherever. Guess what?
Yep.
We got it done. I need you guys to show up and show out.
Awesome. Great feedback, Anna. They did videos about some of the different elements, shooting hoops, book reading, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Good.
Yeah. That's
also, I'm macro. This is like, we can get in the nitty gritty of it, of course, but once again, you were talking about, Jay, about the enthusiasm of the video that you saw, the enthusiasm and the energy and all those things. So, and we keep talking about this, how this is a show. They call it a run a show for a reason. We say venue and menu because there's an entertainment element. these are all things we need to have that enthusiasm and that energy around these things once we know what's obviously going to be in the event and things of that nature. So talking it up, like I said, can't nudge people enough to do that. So
Yeah, right there. Adrian said, the first auction ever, and we talked the trip up.
7 people bought.
And 7 people
yeah,
bought it.
Adrian. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, y'all did a great job of advertising that, Adrian. That's really awesome.
You cannot understate what some of that simple stuff. And this is what I already hear the stuff. My plate is so full, I can barely turn around right now. I get it.
Yeah.
And this is where you kind of have to dig deep. And sometimes, depending upon the support that you have, and it may be simply that you've got to call the auction, the event chair. Mm-hmm. Call that person, lean on that person who's doing that and say, hey, I need 30 minutes with you.
All hands on deck. Yep.
We need to get all hands on deck. I need you to get your committee together, rally this thing out. Because if everybody, it's the same thing. If everybody on the committee, you got 10 people on the committee and everybody makes 3 phone calls, well, that's 30 phone calls.
Yeah.
All those things really go on to doing it. Golden ticket raffles. You can sell those things beforehand. You don't have to wait until the night of the event. We've seen a lot of times they get there and they go, hey, I wanted to buy one of those raffle tickets. They're sold out. They're gone.
Talk about preparing them for next year. That's
awesome.
Anna said we also use QR codes on flyers and cards to make it easy for people to buy tickets or donate ahead of time. We use the same technology, and I think that's fantastic. If you're using mobile bidding software, obviously we highly recommend that you open up the event for viewing and things of that nature to start the fundraising process before the event even takes place. We think that's a lovely idea. It's a lovely strategy that so many successful organizations are employing currently and have for the past few years. So we think that's huge. We talk about, that now you're getting into what we do a little bit too. It's like with the QR code technology, we put those on posters for the night of that folks can scan and get more information about what they're going to be potentially bidding on. We call it removing friction. So there's no stone left unturned. It's like, I'll scan it. The technology's there. Everyone understands how to use it, no matter, what demographic. And they scan it, they get more information. Now they're informed. Now they're a more informed donor. And we think that's really, really lovely. So just getting them one step closer, removing steps that get, along the way that gets them closer and closer to making that bid, making that donation, we think is huge. Anything that you can do to do that, you will not lose.
I want to mention one more thing. And this is, we did a podcast. It'll be out next week, I'm sure. With a friend of ours, does a lot of events. He does his specialty is really kind of different because he goes to these organizations and they kind of do everything from front to back, help them put the fundraiser on, get their committee together.
Shop.
One-stop shop. They do the items, everything, auctioneer. And so they do these events that have 500, 600, 700 people show up. And so a lot of times they're just reaching out to people that they don't even have because, maybe there's not a previous donor base. Like, it's some veterans organization or some deal that's getting started, or he does a lot of stuff in law enforcement. They may not have this big group. And so they're trying to broaden their base with this strategies that he does. And they're very successful at it. But he talked about something that was really intriguing. And he said, first he said, there's 5 million. He brought that deal up. There's 5 million registered nonprofits in the United States. I think there's like 1.5 million fundraisers that happen in the United States at minimum. That's just based on some numbers I've seen.
In some form or fashion. Yeah.
And so think about this. It's not like it was, a long 20, 30 years ago where there weren't that many events. There's a lot of events, a lot. A lot of competition, a lot of things out there. How are you going to differentiate yourself? You've done the work. You've said everything's going to be a great party. We've got great tables. We've got great, the venues, the menu, all the things are really cool. You got to let people know this is why you need to be here, because you don't want them to get sidetracked and go, you know what? I'll just send them a check. I got something else to go do.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be compelling.
You got to keep that build up, and don't just blast them 3 weeks out. You got to start that crescendo and build all the way up to the event,
to the show. Yeah,
to the show.
Yep.
So
I love that. There are a lot of events going on at the same time in the same fold. There's a ton of competition for folks' attention and for their dollars, of course, right?
Mhm.
So you talk about differentiation, such a powerful tool in business in general, just being different. It's like, we're different, we're better because of this, because we're different. And then you can list the bullets. And then we talked yesterday about that too, is like, novelty is a really powerful tool. Oh wow, this is a new approach. They're having a new live auction. They're having a new new items. Oh, they've never had a live auction before, and these are the cool items they're banging down the door this year with, and that bright, shiny, and
Yeah,
new.
it's not
that
the same
novelty.
stuff. It's been,
Yep.
it's not the same.
It can't
the same
be.
party
It can't be,
basket. It's
actually.
not the same. The same lake cabin that, we're
Yep.
really not sure if it's sanitary or not. That's been out
Yep.
there the last 9 years.
Yep. You're not wrong. You're not.
I want to.
Has to be fresh.
Yeah, I want to change gears and kind of go into a little different part of preparing people to give, and this is going to be on the fund to need. One of the things that I believe is to having a successful fund to need is to know what's going to happen before you walk in the door. And so preparing those people to give, being thoughtful about how we're going to do that. This is going to be a more one-on-one, face-to-face. It's not just, hey, Trevor, hope you're going to show up. We're going to have a fund to need and try to, we're going to try to, I like using it because it's easy. Send 100 kids to camp, How many is to have that call? Hey, Trevor, I know that you've been a big part of our organization, and this is people that have the ability to give. Okay, this isn't just a, let's just take a scattergun approach to it. This is really, I'm on a snipe. This is, I'm really focused in, and I'm going to get up close and personal. Not even sniper, because I'm going to get up close. Okay, this is what I'm going in to get really close.
Nose to nose.
Yeah. And this is with people that number one, that can, that have, like they can, they care.
Love that.
And this is where you're going to get really up close and personal, because this is where you're going to say, hey, Trevor, you and Shelby have been coming to our event, and you've always been really good. And this year we're trying to send 100 kids to camp. Last year we sent 50. We're trying to double that this year. We need to really step up. And I'm coming to you to see if during our fund to need, during our, we're going to raise money to do this specific thing, that you would come in with a significant gift. Would you be willing to do something to get things kicked off, or a match or something like that?
Great.
Well, this is really, because if this is important, because we're talking about a significant money, 10, 15, 25, 50, $100,000. That's not necessarily something that even people with capacity are going to just do instantly. 10 grand, yeah, they could probably do that. But the 50,000, the 100,000, the $250,000, those really magnificent gifts, those are things that you can really break down. And so I want to give you some ideas. I'd love to hear any response on this, that you've had success with this. But I want to give you a couple of examples of things where I've seen this be very successful. One is the organization. This was for a foundation. It's a hospital foundation. They were raising money to put all the equipment in a new preemie center that they had set up, and so they needed to buy all this equipment. And the two construction companies, they were very, very clever about this. They went to the two construction companies that were building. So these guys definitely have a vested interest in doing something. And they said, absolutely, what can we do? One organization came in, they worked, and this was an ongoing back and forth. They did this over a couple of weeks, kind of talking about how it looked. And what they did was, this was the ingenious part. They didn't say, well, how much money will you give? They were like, how many of the preemie warming units, they were these big thing, they were $15,000 a piece, and this other piece of equipment, that the baby stays in, was like $5,000. And I may be off on the numbers, but you'll get the gist. And they said, at first they came back and they said, well, we think we would like to do 2 of the big units, and they started off there. When it got all said and done, one company bought 4 of the big units. That was $60,000. And then they kicked in another 15,000 for a total of 75 grand. The other company that was worked with them came up and went from like, they were in the $10,000 or $15,000 range. By the time it was all said and done, they put in 45,000. So that's why preparing people to give is so important, because they start thinking about the impact, and they would come back, hey, you know what? We've been talking about it and we want to do more. Mm-hmm. That happens with companies. That happens with vendors that do business with you. That happens with just generous donors, just individuals. When they know what the impact, and they'll come back and say, I want to do 5 kids. I want to do 10 kids. I want to do this. I want this amount of money. I want to have this kind of impact. And that's where preparing those donors, having those up close and, those conversations, preparing them to give, preparing your donors about what they're going to hear, get them participating. And what we did is we were able to get these 2 companies at a certain time. They raised their hand. We walked over with a microphone and said, why are you doing this? And they got to tell their story. Whoa. So they had a prepared story they gave. And they said, this is why this is so important. Our partnership is this. And they were kind of able to tout themselves, and vice versa, went back and forth. And we raised, I don't know, $500,000 that night. So I'm saying all this, that's the, preparing that path. So that's the way, we see the social media and we see cards and letters and videos, and we're talking about in general, but sometimes those phone calls and that face-to-face is where really, really huge impact is going to come. And it's going to be with people that you're going to say, well, but Jason, they're already a platinum sponsor. Okay.
Yeah. Apples and oranges. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just because they gave you $25,000 or $50,000 already doesn't mean there's not something else they can come and do. And a lot of times,
especially if it's quantifiable,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess having those conversations, it's like, whew, man, got that, stamp it and be done. It's okay to go back and ask for more money. And I know sometimes it's uncomfortable because, well, boy,
we have this conversation often.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a really fast way that this was done. Preparing a donor to give. Very small organization. Was their first event they'd ever done. They had never done anything before. They'd just been around a little bit. And I said, who's your biggest fan? And they said, what do you mean? I said, who's giving you the most money? Mrs. Johnson. Okay. Why? I'm going to go ask her for some money. The executive director, I kid you not, said, well, they just got back from have a big wedding down in Central America or something. And I don't know, I'm not really sure. And I was like, oh baby, heck yeah. I went over to her and I just said, hi, I'm Jason. We're getting ready. This is the first event. Thank you so much for being here. I understand that, you've been a great partner to the organization, and I'm going to ask you for some money. And she goes, okay. And I said, but what I'd like to do is, would you be willing to give a gift that I could turn around and get things started, so that way we'll
huge
get things moving. And she said, well, how much you're thinking? I said, it's up to you. 100,000 would be great. And it was being very facetious. And she said, well, she goes, I'll tell you what, she goes, how about I start 1,000? I said, perfect. Again, very small group, very small organization, very small fundraiser. This is, shoestring budget kind of thing. By the time it was over, she gave $6,000, because she'd say, anybody else here want to give some more money? Cause I'll give another 1,000, and then we'd get more money. We'd raise 1,000. She'd give another 1,000. And so all together they wound up raising, about $15,000, $20,000, something like that in the live ask. And they were expecting to get nothing. I mean, basically there was nothing. Small scale, large scale. It doesn't matter.
Just numbers.
Okay.
Yep.
They're just numbers, but it's still the same.
Yep.
It's still the same preparation.
Yep. So when you have these conversations, people need.
Any questions on that? Has anybody got a story that you'd like to share with that? Help it out. Maybe a fail, or you're like, well, yeah, I've got some people I want to ask, but not sure how to go about it. I'd love to get that. Hear about that. We've just got a few minutes left, or anything else. Please ask away.
We'll announce a winner here pretty soon.
Yeah,
well.
and if you're watching
Exciting.
this on video, hey, leave a comment below because we would love to get that as well. So we would love to hear any
we'll
comments,
respond.
feedback, please.
I will throw us under the bus one more time as well. If anyone would like to have a conversation about any facet of preparedness for your event, for getting your donors prepared to give, what Jason has went into, super important that this is being articulated before your mission drive, your fund to need. Reach out to us, Jason at hgafundraising.com, Trevor at hgafundraising.com, because we love having these conversations. We're students of this and love to learn and love to share what we've learned. So very, very cool. Any last minute questions for anyone or comments? I appreciate, I don't know, I haven't really seen that much feedback in some time, so I'm really, really thankful for it. We're getting a ton of awesome comments and awesome experience share. How many points of contact is ideal to cultivate an auction donor? Jason, do you see Adrian's?
As many
question?
as you possibly can get.
Yep.
As many as you have. Okay, let me give you an example. So this is a really great question. Okay, so let's just use an example. I'm going to pick on Trevor some more. So let's say that we know that Trevor is here. He's been here before. He's given money, and we're going to go ask him. Well, the first thing is, who has the best relationship with him? Mm-hmm. Is it somebody on the committee? Is it somebody on the staff? Is it another donor? There are so many ways to go about this. I'm going to give you I've told this story before, but I'll do a real quick one. We were asking for a chat. The executive director went to a key donor and said, hey, we're wanting to ask Greg if he'd be willing to do a match challenge gift. And that, if we just to challenge everybody. Well, this other key donor said, well, why didn't you ask me? And of course, the executive director got a little smile on her face, and she goes, well, I guess I just did. He pulled his phone out. Hey, Greg, we're in for 50. You good? Okay. Okay, you got 50,000. Yeah. Just like that. So, and let me say this. This is not, when you talk about, well, ideal or perfect, there is no perfect ideal scenario, but I will tell you that if you have one millionaire, one guy that's worth 100 million, asking another guy that's worth 100 million to participate, that's a different question than me going and asking the guy doing that. Because I can't, my capacity, my deal is not in the same thing. Now I can ask,
sure,
hey, we're looking for you to come in. But what happens is a lot of times is we hold back. We don't ask for enough. And so there's that ability. So that's really,
mind. Is that what you're talking about? We're thinking in our own mind.
And you know what? I think it's cool. I think it's cool to see, if I send a message, I called Trevor, say, hey, Trevor, I know you guys are going to be at the event and we're trying to raise a bunch of money. We need to raise $100,000. Just see if you'd be willing to come in at 25.
Yeah.
And well, let me talk to Shelby about it. And then Mariella picks up just texts and says, hey, Trevor, I know Jason's already talked to you about this, but just thank you for everything and really appreciate your support.
Love that. Oh, love that. That's good.
I mean, it's okay. And because what happens is Trevor's going to sit there and start laughing and going, okay, all right, I got to go talk to my wife and see what we can do.
They're giving me some attention. They're nudging me here. I wanted to say, fortune favors the bold, so don't be afraid to ask. The worst thing you're going to hear is no, but there's so much opportunity. Jason's always, as long as I've known Jason, he's been nudging people and empowering people and encouraging people to ask. And
well, Becky just said somebody asked for 1,000. They got paid $100 for a free car wash, just because they asked. Yeah.
Well,
you've
Becky
got a
said
smile on your face. If you have a smile on your face and thoughtful,
we know you care. Yeah, we know you care. So that's going to be the easy thing. You're going to, I call it, you're going to bleed sincerity because we know you care about your mission. We know you care.
But Mariella, this is how you get deep pockets. The way that you get deep pockets is talking about your organization, about the impact that it has. The way that you do it is having something that rich people want. I can tell you right now, no rich person is going to come and buy. I'm going to just talk about
basket of Amazon gift cards.
No, but they could care less about that. It's just not going to trip their trigger. They could give you money, but people say, well, what do people want to buy? Well, wealthy people want to buy stuff that wealthy people go do. You know, if you've got somebody that has that, so that's how you attract those people, is having unique and interesting things. And there's ways to go about that. We've got lots of, you can go to YouTube and pull up the channel and see, and we'll get some links out there. Make sure everybody can go see that if there's something past you want to do. We've got to get a winner, Trevor. We've got to get a winner.
I wanted to say something self-deprecating, because Anna said she's looking forward to this replay. Anna, by the end of the replay, you're going to get sick of hearing us. You're going to get sick of seeing Jason and I.
Oh, no, you won't.
If you want to hang in there for the whole replay, I guess you can. So thanks so much for the feedback. Adrian, I'm so thankful. Thank you for the feedback. Yep. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate that. Jay is going to draw a winner while I'm making jokes and tossing diatribes at THCA.
Okay, I have the winner, Julie. I want to say, I hope I say this right, Gillibo. Gillibo. I'm not sure if I said that right. If I totally messed it up, it's okay, because we're going to give you a free trip that you can use in your next fundraiser.
Thank you.
And
that's awesome. Fantastic, Julie. Thanks for joining us. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming. I saw a lot of familiar names. I saw a lot of new names. That's probably because y'all are sharing this. Thanks so much, everybody, for doing it. Really, really grateful. Jason and I are super grateful. This has been awesome.
Hey, and this is not a sales pitch, but if you need some help, run some stuff by us. Trevor at hjfundraising.com, Jason at hjfundraising.com. Hit us up. We're glad to share some time with you. This is our favorite thing to do. And so, you know, we're not going to try to sell you anything. It's just, we're just want to help you raise more money. So, hey, until next week. Hey, next week we've got episode 87. We're going to be talking about, is your fundraising efficient? Are you doing the best, most efficient fundraising at your event? So, hope you'll tune in.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week for episode 87. Thanks, Jay. Love you. Talk to everybody soon.